Hi everyone, welcome to Building a Better Sefton. I'm Tim Short, this is David Moorhead. We've got a great episode for you today with Janis Blackburne from Southport Friends of Palestine. We're going to look at international issues, including what's happening in Israel, Palestine, and how that fits into local and community issues, not just to do with morality and ethics of what Britain is involved in. We're also going to examine the issue of community cohesion, particularly in light of the Southport riots last year, which had such a devastating impact. We also in Liverpool recently had a pro-UK march as well. So we're going to talk about the kind of issues surrounding that, as well as looking at the Palestine issue. David, how did you think it went?
I thought it was, again, fascinating because we need to talk about Palestine, because we are globally all connected. We're seeing the starvation, we're seeing the images. It's not as if, like in Nazi Germany, they said they didn't know. We all know. We're watching Britain selling weapons, and we seem quite powerless. So it was interesting to talk to an action group who were trying to do something. And I think Janis very clearly pointed out why the Friends of Palestine, the Southport group, are there in Southport, and how a connection to Sefton, a connection to Palestine globally will make us stronger. So I thought it was a very, very good introduction and explanation. I would point out that there has been killing on both sides, Israel and Palestine, Hamas, Israel, and that is so sad. Every single life taken in this conflict is heartbreaking and wrong and shouldn't have happened. And then we're now seeing thousands upon thousands of people dying in Palestine, 28 children a day. I think it was really good to be connected with someone who could give us some sense of what to do with our despair.
Absolutely, and the ongoing humanitarian crisis, it's like it's there, it's in plain sight, but oh no, we can't really do anything about it. It just beggars belief. But we tie it in anyway to local community relations and community cohesion in the Sefton area as well. Concerned about some of the stuff I sometimes see in these Facebook groups to do with immigration and asylum and things like that. But we want to build a better Sefton, and we're very much about unity and people coming together.
I was going to say, on that point of the Facebook groups, they are targeting teenagers. And news feeds are going onto teenagers' social media, and they're being bombarded with certain messages as if it's the truth. And that's really, really worrying. As a parent, I think every single parent in Sefton is very concerned about the role social media has in their child's lives. And I was quite shocked at how much right-wing content is just bombarded onto my son's social media.
Yeah, it is very worrying. And I don't think it's good for your mental health either, constantly seeing these things. I mean, I'm bad enough just looking at the headlines of many of the mainstream papers and some of the channels now, whose names I won't mention. But it is very, very concerning to see how things are changing. And that's why international issues and local issues very much fit together. So enjoy this episode. Again, you can support us through crowdfunding. You can come on. You can get involved in a number of different ways. You can support us through Ko-fi.com. You can support us through Substack, not just financially, but you can subscribe to us, find out about our podcasts there. We're also on YouTube and Facebook. So support us any way you can and let us build a better Sefton. And here is the episode with Janis Blackburne of Southport Friends of Palestine.
And enjoy.
Hi everyone, welcome to Building a Better Sefton. Hi David, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. The sun is still out in Sefton, so that's always wonderful.
Brilliant, and it's a real honour today to have Janis Blackburne on from Southport Friends of Palestine. We're going to talk about that issue and how it connects to Sefton. And also Janis has got some experience in formal politics in Sefton as well. So Janis, thank you very much for coming on to speak to us today.
It's a pleasure.
Could you just explain what do you hope to achieve for Sefton in your current position, and how are you going to do that? So how is your group going to help Sefton? Obviously, you're helping the people in Palestine.
Well, yes, I wish I could help them a bit more. How it was established, my husband and I were always really interested in what was going on in Palestine. And then, of course, October the 7th. And shortly after that, we saw on, I think it was a Southport news group or one of the groups, Facebook groups, that there was people standing, not so much in a demo, but supporting Palestine in what was going on. It was only a small group, so we decided to go along, and it really was very small, and now it's grown and grown. And there's no sort of leader, but there's now about 10 of us in Southport Friends of Palestine planning group, and we meet once a month and decide what our plans are and what we're going to do. How has it helped in Southport? Well, I hope it's raised awareness. People in Southport do tend to be more focused on Southport and local stuff, and you do get comments that what's that got to do with Southport and so on. But recently, I know you were there, David. I couldn't go on Saturday, and I believe it was very uplifting. There was a lot of good vibes, solid support there.
Yeah, I would say it's grown and grown. It was a good, I thought, 40 people there, but because it's outside the town hall, the traffic coming past, it was so positive. There wasn't any negativity. I think there's just so much support at the moment for the poor, innocent people starving in Gaza. So it was very uplifting that Southport was embracing this international cause.
Yeah, so it's every fortnight we stand there and do that. And about a month ago, it was the day of the Orange Lodge March through Southport on the 12th of July. So it was a Saturday. So we stood at the end of Southport. Ainsdale sort of goes into Formby with some billboards that we borrowed from Liverpool Friends of Palestine. We're making our own now, saying things like 20,000 kids dead, none had a gun, and so on our placards. And we got a lot of support there. We do get people filming us and shouting stuff at us like we're terrorists and so on. But I think it's more positive, really, rather than negative. I've got a book that we created between us called The Gathering, and you can buy it online.
We can share a link for that online as well for people to look at if you send us the link later.
Yeah, so we wrote poems and also there's some artwork. About once a month, there's an event, usually in the community centre in Norwood Road. There's something about Palestine, explaining the history of it, explaining what we can do to help. Usually there's Palestinian goods for sale there, and all the money goes, to Palestine, because of course it's not just Gaza, it's the West Bank as well. And Karen, she's actually been, and so is another member, Lynn, she's actually been to the West Bank several times. So she knows firsthand just what it's like to live there. And of course, it's worse now. You can't, sometimes you get people say, why don't you go to Palestine and fight for them? Well, you can't go now, really. One of her friends applied to go to the West Bank and she wasn't allowed. So it looks like it's a blockage there.
There is a lot of media coverage at the moment, and many people say that in the West, it tends to be like a bit of a pro-Israeli stance on these affairs in the media and through government.
Definitely. Yeah.
But in recent months, I think the footage of the starvation in Gaza has made a big impact, even with someone like Donald Trump and some Labour ministers, the French President Macron, even the Germans, who traditionally were very well,
about that. Yeah.
Because I didn't realise, I know America gives 60% of military support to Israel. Germany provides a third.
Yeah.
So the US and Germany are huge backers of Israel for various reasons. But to see that breakthrough because of the recent footage, it just goes to show that getting that message out there, it can have an impact, as much as it may be frustrating. And I think what you're doing is you're trying to bring it to the public awareness in Southport, as well as the Liverpool group. And just to declare, I used to work with the Liverpool group many years ago. Now, when I was growing up, I used to hear like Palestine, all this going on. And I read a great book by a man from Liverpool about the 4,000-year history of Israel and Palestine. So do you know if anyone's unsure, do you want to just give a basic description of what your group's about and what the situation is from your angle?
Yes, well, as you say, the history, really, it's the Balfour Agreement. That's the basis of it. Really, that was a racist decision on behalf of the government at the time. What are we going to do about the Jewish people? They're being persecuted. I know. Well, let them go to Palestine and settle there. And it worked out, I think, maybe reasonably okay until after the Second World War, when in 1948 there was a huge influx of people coming to what was still then fully Palestine. Israel is not a state with an army, it's an army with a state. The IDF are Israel, and that there's a book by Ilan Pappé called The Ethnic Cleansing of Israel, and I've read that, and that explained what happened in those first few years, 1948, 49. There was massacres, and people had their land stolen from them, and so on. So, this has been going on for decades. I don't believe anything they say, the Israeli government. In fact, having said that, they are more honest about what they do than the British media, the mainstream media, the BBC, etc.
Some people have no idea and think Palestine is obviously another place away from the UK, which geographically it is, but there were Muslims, Palestinians living there and having land, and Jewish settlers were given land, but then the Jewish settlements have grown and taken over other land. I think also the UK is not neutral. This is what really shocked me. I think this is why I stand in Southport.
Yeah, it's not neutral.
The government licensed the sale of weapons to Israel. So I think 28 children a day die in Gaza, right? And the weapons are coming from supposedly civilized countries, including the United Kingdom. And as a taxpayer, I am appalled that my money is being used to slaughter children. Yeah.
So, this government have kept the two-child benefit cap, taking money away from pensioners, all sorts of austerity measures. And where's the money going? Well, some of it's going into what they call defence. They've got military aircraft in Cyprus flying across to Israel, supporting them, helping them with reconnaissance to see where they can drop their bombs with the most effect. Yeah, and it's our, as you say, it's our money. People are not aware of that. And they say, well, what's Palestine got to do with us? It's miles away. But it has got to do with us in many ways. I mean, Keir Starmer said Israel has got the right to defend itself, and yet it hasn't in international law because it's an occupier. And the occupier cannot claim self-defense. The occupier cannot claim self-defense to the occupied. So,
And also, it's gone, even if you said they had the right to self-defend, it's gone beyond that.
Oh, yes.
It's so disproportionate. Torture, starvation, mass killing. You get to the point where that is not a civilized country. That is just a modern evil. And I think the fact that we can all see it, the video clips are coming out, even though they've banned all the international journalists. The fact the world is seeing it is sickening to think it's happening again. And this time, many world leaders are not even committed to stopping it.
I know. I've, even though I've looked into it, I still find it hard to understand why Israel has got so much power. But I think it's where it is, in that part of the Middle East. And there's oil and gas there. And
I think the Pape's very good. He's an Israeli citizen and academic.
Yes.
And, he talks about the Nakba, the ethnic cleansing of, I think, approximately 700,000 Palestinians in the late 40s. Now, many people were saying, after the Holocaust, the Jews needed their own state. But the people in that land, the Palestinian people, who had nothing to do with the Holocaust, were ethnically cleansed. Now, a lot of people talk about a two-state solution based on the pre-67 borders. And the problem we've got here is that the West Bank is being occupied. And I don't know, you've seen the film, the documentary. He's recently killed the Palestinian activist who filmed that documentary. The way that they go about it, and I'll say one thing about Israel, although the gloves are off at the moment in terms of Netanyahu, because he's trying to retain power because he's worried about being prosecuted inside Israel.
Yeah.
The gloves are very much off, whereas in the past, the Israelis were kind of doing it on the quiet and doing it very slowly without any real international criticism, really.
Yeah.
But I think many people are saying that Israel has overreached now, and the just random killing of all civilians who are Palestinian and starvation, that has got to stop, and that has gone too far. But we're seeing very much like symbolic stuff from Macron, and although the German Chancellor Scholz, is him saying we're suspending our military support to Israel is phenomenal and just goes to show what people can do. And it is very much a strange thing. I think there's like a lot of deep state stuff going on Britain. Oh, let's cozy up with America. Let's retain our kind of influence in the Middle East. Let's pussyfoot around this and give Israel the benefit of the doubt. But it really is shocking. And I think that the thing at the moment with, like, say, Ukraine, Palestine, is that when there's border disputes and land being occupied, it very much gets in the news, whereas a lot of other things don't, because it's happening inside a country like Sudan, etc. But to see mass starvation in the way we are, surely the Israeli government is, or certainly the Netanyahu influence and Smotrich and Ben Gvir, the really extreme type, surely they've overreached. But seeing the footage, it just defies belief, really, that this is just allowed to just go through.
Yeah, and I think also entailed with that over here is like Islamophobia. And what happened in Southport just over a year ago, and the mosque being attacked. It was just, appalling. And some of the local Muslim community do come out, but they're a little bit, some of them are a bit wary, understandably, of coming out and demonstrating. They do when the imam comes out, who he's a lovely guy, he's very charismatic, and he's a really good speaker. We take turn at the end of the demos to where somebody speaks about something. It's my turn next time, trying to choose a topic, and I was trying to choose something like you were saying, Tim, something a bit more optimistic, that there have been some changes. For instance, the Royal Opera House, and the guy with the flag, and they tried to pull it off him. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought
now
that was so powerful.
They perform in Israel, but they're not now.
And I was also going to say, on other marches I've been on, many of the Jewish community have come out. Many Orthodox Jews are marching to say that what Israel is doing, that isn't Judaism in practice. That isn't the Torah, the covenant of Moses.
Nothing to do with religion.
Yeah, Zionism, the idea of an Israeli state and to defend it, is very separate from Judaism. So I think when you criticize Israel and Zionism and people say you're anti-Semitic, I don't think they appreciate or even understand what anti-Semitism is.
No.
We're not targeting the Jewish faith because that is a peaceful religion. We're targeting this political vision that is slaughtering children.
Well, actually, I was suspended from the Labour Party. I did 4 years as a councillor. And then in 2022, about a month before I was due to stand again, and I just signed, you have to sign the papers, say, get people to nominate, just doing all that. And I got an email to say I'd been suspended from the Labour Party. I already knew they were looking into me, investigating. And it was just for a tweet that I did, a couple of tweets, but the main one, I think, was the guy, I can't remember his name, something Glass, who's head of CAA, the Campaign Against Anti-Semitism, which is a charity, and it shouldn't be because it's political. He had a little video. This was during lockdown, when you're looking on your phone, you've nothing else to do. A little video saying, we did it all on our own. We got rid of Jeremy Corbyn. It was us, blah, blah. And I retweeted it. And that was why they threw me out. Well, they didn't throw me out. They suspended me for 6 months. So then I had to do a course on online social media course. So I left.
That's just
I didn't stand again, and I left. And I thought, well, I won't say what I thought because it would be beeped out. But yeah, I mean, I really dislike this Labour. Really, really, they're so wrong. I can't think of anything positive to say about them.
Do you know
it's baffling. They made you do a course. They wanted you to do a course, but they're happy to sell weapons around the world to the highest bidder, and those weapons then destabilize countries, and refugees have to flee, and then it all comes back here as well. It's bizarre that that's okay, but what you did was questionable.
Yeah,
I
have deleted all my Twitter, as it was then, Twitter. But somebody, well, I can't prove this, but somebody in the local Labour Party screenshotted it and sent it off. Because the ones who are left in there now are all right wingers or pretending to be right wingers.
You mean they're in the Labour Party, but you would call them to the right of the Labour Party?
Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah. Do you know? Can you just tell us? Were you elected as a councillor at one point in a particular ward, and then you would be selected?
Where I live in Kew Ward, Kew Ward.
In Kew Ward, yeah.
Whereas where the hospital is around that area.
There was a lot of stuff thrown at Jeremy Corbyn's Labour, accusing him of being anti-Semitic for some of the positions on Palestine, and there was very much a page of the Labour Party under the guise of anti-Semitism, but also just like people to the left. And people say that the Labour Party's lost that broad church kind of aspect that it once had. Now, one of the things that really confounds me is why the Labour Party can't get together with a load of lawyers and solicitors when they're being accused of anti-Semitism and go, right, here's our understanding of anti-Semitism, here's what we're doing, here's what our principles are, that critiquing Israel is not anti-Semitism in itself.
Yeah.
Just like you might say critiquing Hamas or critiquing Saudi Arabian governments is not Islamophobic. You should be able to critique certain things that people do without being made out to be some kind of bigot, because that destroys any free speech, any nuance, and basically allows ethnic cleansing, war crimes, and authoritarianism to go unpunished. It's absolutely ridiculous.
It was a scam. They adopted I sometimes get this wrong, the IHRA, is it?
Yeah,
definition
the international,
of anti-Semitism. Yeah, and that actually says criticism of Israel is anti-Semitic. Yeah. Well, Jeremy Corbyn allowed that. He wasn't perfect. He was a bit weak I suppose he wasn't prepared for the onslaught that came within his own party, within his own parliamentary party. Having adopted that, you're allowed to say that, anti-Israel is anti-Semitic. It was a scam. It was so handy for them, I think, to say, to have this anti-Semitic thing. Never heard of it before. It came about around about 2018, something like that, where they started on the anti-Semitism thing. That's why I was suspended. Probably they couldn't say I was anti-Semitic because I wasn't, but they might have done if I'd have stayed in, gone as an independent and stood again. They might have then said, been to put stuff out there about me. As regards of Southport, I mean, as I say, there's the there's not a huge Muslim community, but it's from around the area. It's also people come to that mosque from Formby, from Ormskirk and around the area. But you must have seen video footage of the way they behaved on the 30th of July last year. I think there's still that remnant there of that anti-Islamophobia, anti-Muslims.
Just bringing it back into Sefton, some of the Facebook groups in Sefton are basically, I don't know if you know the Southport News Facebook group, but Reform UK are going on there, very polished, without allowing any replies or responses to the posts. Yeah. In Bootle, there's quite a few Facebook groups with thousands of followers where people who are effectively reform adjacent are publishing a lot of stuff. And, you know, you hear criticisms of multiculturalism and people saying, oh, you know, there's too many non-white faces now around parts of Sefton. And it is a very worrying undercurrent. And again, it ties in with the cost of living crisis, the economy not doing well, housing shortages, all that stuff. We know all about that. But it is a worrying trend with, I think, this idea that of us and them and to otherize people. It is a big, big problem. And it's always there beneath the surface, isn't it?
Sorry, I think particularly as Sefton is very white. If you live in Blackburn or Preston or somewhere, you could refer, but you can't refer to that here. Somebody puts something like that on social media. I tend to disagree with them. I don't get, you know, angry, but I say, well, try to use logic, you know. My husband thinks I'm mad arguing with them, but I said, oh, well, you know, how many people are, and I looked it up and it's like less than 3% non-white ethnic origin in Southport. And yet talking about all different coloured faces when does it matter anyway? But anyway, that they in Southport there's a quite a population of, I don't know how much percent of Eastern European, you know, blended in very well, but they're white, aren't they? You see, so that's definitely racism is raising its ugly head, as we know, for the hotel situation, you know, of people going outside the hotels demonstrating against the immigrants there. We did have a problem with that during lockdown here because a couple of the hotels here, the main ones, had immigrants and other homeless people in the hotels because, you know, in lockdown, that was what happened. And we got some nasty far right people coming and trying to make trouble over it. Didn't really build into anything really big, but there is that there as well.
Such a sad situation because this country has always developed with immigration. We've got so many things to celebrate that have made our lives better. And I do worry that the far right, how genuine it all is. Are those people really committed to an ideology, or did they just turn up? What shocked me about the riots last year, you know, there was one mother who'd left a disabled child to come out and throw bricks and stones and was drunk. And you just thought, why is she there?
I know.
And so we're told it's the right wing and they want to give their views, etc. But you do wonder, especially on the Facebook pages, if they're genuine, if it isn't just a generated media for people creating 200 profiles, just stirring it for power. It's either there is hate or we're being told there's hate. And I don't know if we're being deluded by social media.
I think it's there, but I think that the far right have always been there. There's probably still the same number of them, but that there's some people who are just, you know, they've had enough. It's just not good in this country. They're not, you know, they're not having a good life, and they've got somebody to blame. So they blame immigrants, and they've never been members of any of these groups, but they've come out because they've heard one of their friends has seen it on social media. Oh, there's going to be a demonstration. Some even go because they think it's going to be funny, I'm sure. Some quite young. Yeah.
It takes all kinds, doesn't it? I think the issue with that is that the problem that we've got in Sefton and everywhere else is most of the print media are heavily anti-immigrants, tend to be owned by quite wealthy oligarchs. We've got GB News owned by Paul Marshall, a very wealthy extreme right oligarch.
Yeah.
And that just is flooding the zone with the proverbial, which is the policy that Trump used. Just keep hitting simple messages. Doesn't matter how true they are. Like, the immigrants are eating cats and dogs. And then J.D. Vance says in America, oh, yeah, he was just trying to get the issue raised. You know, it might not be true, but trying to get the issue raised. And a few months later, he's elected president. And that simple message of hate the other, blame people below you, it's 1930s Germany. And a lot of our media, it's become mainstream now. I'm very worried the Conservatives are going down that line with Badenoch and Jenrich. Those kinds of people would like to do that to the Conservative Party. And Keir Starmer might say, oh, you know, you've got to appear tough on immigration, but, you know, all that, going to meet Meloni, the leader of Italy, and say, no, we need to adopt a hard approach. Well, you can play that a certain way to a degree. Like, you know, you might say, well, if someone's an immigrant and he break the law, well, no one's saying that we should have unlimited immigration and that people can come and do whatever they like. There are systems in place, but you've got people who just spread one-off stories. So, and as someone who's claiming asylum has been accused of an offence, well, report it to the police. You know, if a Liverpool fan comes up to, I'm an Everton fan, the Liverpool fan comes up to me in the street and slaps me across the face. I don't go down the street and attack Anfield because one Liverpool fan. I mean, even if it's ridiculous. The whole logic of it is just counter-rational and counter-intuitive, but it's very, very, very powerful. Blame the other, blame the one who looks different. And it is contaminating right across the country, including the world, including Sefton.
I was going to say the phrase illegal immigrant. Illegal immigrant. They're only illegal because they're not being allowed to apply. They come over on a boat because that's the only way over. And then they all get labelled as illegal. Well, they're not illegal till they've gone through the system. You know. And
I believe 96% of immigrants in this country are legal immigrants. And of the ones who are coming in on the boats, I think it's in single figures. It might be 9%. And the thing is, when you mention these facts to people, when you say 3% of people in Sefton are non-white, I was talking to a guy recently who said he went round to a particular shopping centre. He said, there's loads of like non-white faces. And I thought, yeah, and if they weren't there, who's shopping there? Who's contributing to the economy? You know, the economy expands when immigrants come in. And it's like you're fighting a losing battle because it's emotion. It's emotion you're up against, an animal brain instinct. And it is very frustrating, isn't it?
And I also think there's great levels of poverty, but 20% of all business owners cheat on their tax. So our economy is suffering because of tax cheat. The majority will be white because the majority are white in this country. And our prisons are full of the majority white. And that's all forgotten. That's all moved away. But they are real threats. And just to target the immigrants as if that's the solution, sadly is done for vote winning, but it will not build a better Sefton. It won't build a better UK. It won't unite at all because hate will only destroy. I'm shocked that so many people are buying into hate as a solution.
I think the biggest concern we're hearing at the moment is, oh, immigrants are doing this, are doing that. And you're saying, well, okay, look at the grooming gangs. 83% of grooming gang scandals were not committed by any ethnic minority. When you look at like different ethnic groups, the crime rate is actually lower for immigrants and ethnic groups. Now, you've got Generic and the woman in Runcorn, the MP in Runcorn, and Reform going on about this.
Lee Anderson, will never talk about the fact that if you're going to be sexually abused, it will be far likely it will be a white man over 40. He totally ignores all that, and that's happening up and down the country.
Yeah.
He could address it as an MP, etc. No, he's too afraid, far too afraid to speak about that. So he talks about the Pakistani grooming gangs, because that's a safe little vote winner, but he's got no backbone. And until we actually address the issue of sexual abuse in this country, and how to reduce it, how to tackle it, we're not going to go forward. But Lee Anderson is such a coward.
30p Lee.
30p Lee. The other thing as well with that is the actual investigations of sexual abuse against women and against children. It's underfunded. People are often ignored. No one really cares. On those same parties who are going on about immigrants. We've seen this in the 30s with the rise of National Socialism, with anti-Jewish propaganda. They're coming for our women. We've been here before, and that's why it's so sad and frustrating to see Sefton, where we live, and the country where we live, go down that kind of path. And it all ties in, I think, at the end of the day, it's easy to otherize Palestinians because of Islamophobic tropes, etc.
Yeah, definitely. And everything's underfunded, including, I was kind of a brief word about children's services. Assembles that we've had, as part of Southport. I'm the chair, by the way, of Southport Community Independence. And the assemblies that they've had, a lot of the people who've come is because they're really dissatisfied with children's services. They're not getting listened to. That's the thing. And they try to protest, they try to ask their questions, and they get blocked. I mean, a few stood outside Bootle Town Hall, and somebody from the presumably from the Children's Services group, view and scrutiny, call the police. I mean, that's crazy, isn't it? That's crazy. That's so self-defensive.
This is an issue, just while you're getting ready, this is an issue that seems to come up with a lot of people we speak to, and people from different backgrounds as well. I mean, we've spoken to Sean Halsall, and he didn't cover this. He said he knows it's an issue. But we've spoken to a number of people now about this, and it just keeps coming up.
People are talking about the decline of public spaces, parks, venues, youth facilities. There's just one youth club. One of the first things I did when I became a councillor was to go and meet the people from the only one, which is just up the road from me, Emil's Cop Youth Club, and help them, because councillors have ward funds that they can give out to various people in the ward. So I gave some money to them. People are worried about social breakdown and rising crime. Small businesses struggling against high rates and corporate takeover. Frustration with local governance was widespread. People question where council money was going and how decisions were made. And there's also alarm at the rise of reform locally as well. But with the children's services, this has been going on, as you well know, David, but this has been going on since 2016, maybe before that. They've been poor, and they keep getting offsetted, and I believe it's due out tomorrow, isn't it?
Yes.
Their
social care one is tomorrow.
Minor improvements. I think. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, I mean, they were inadequate. They're hoping they go to require improvements, and then they'll be celebrating. But we want good.
Yes.
The bar has to be higher for the children of Sefton, and every single parent or parent ally should be demanding that. We should live in a borough that is good, not requires improvement while we're doing well.
We know austerity's got to be linked with that, but that's not the reason behind it all.
No.
I'm a governor at Meals Cop High School, and they have the largest, a large group of children within their cohort that are special needs in one way or another, because they have got a reputation of being really good with special needs. So, now they've got something like 40% come under that umbrella. But when I first became a governor, I was a councillor as well, and I used to feel It's a bit embarrassing, this. I don't, because there would be the criticism of the Labour Council in Sefton about how they were dealing with special needs in schools. And there's been a lot of changes of staff, but it doesn't seem to have no one seems to be able to pull it up and, do something radically better about it. So I'll be interested to see how that progresses.
Yeah, I mean, it is staff absence, lack of training, a culture. I think they openly admit it's a culture that lacks compassion there. But as you say, tomorrow we will wait to see what the Ofsted report says.
And also, we'll be reporting on that further when that does come out on building a better sector. I think the big thing with that, I've done casework for a trade union, and sometimes the casework's high, and sometimes I would say, right, this needs to be dealt with by that person or this person. But from what I'm hearing, you've got people being blanked, being ignored, turnover of staff, all this kind of stuff going on. And that's just not good enough. And when I was doing casework, it was demanded sometimes the workload, but you'd at least say, listen, I've addressed this issue, here's what I've done. Sometimes it was even, listen, I can't help you with this for these reasons. And people didn't always like that, but you said, this is all I can do. There was honesty, there was transparency. And the situation at Children's Services, some of those Ofsted reports, I mean, I've got divided opinions on Ofsted.
Well, as an ex-teacher,
yeah, you know what I mean? It's not perfect by any means, but when they're coming in making judgments like that, and you're thinking, this isn't just like a school, that's bad enough. This is like vulnerable people.
And also Sefton was so bad, the last Conservative government, they sent in Paul Boyce, who's a children's commissioner, to actually advise and then dictate to Sefton how they improve, because they couldn't do it themselves. And there's only 2 places in the whole of the Northwest that's ever happened to, Blackpool and Sefton. So we are right at the bottom.
Yes.
And that's incredibly shocking.
Yeah.
That we were ever in that situation.
Yeah, definitely. And I saw that a lot of the social workers, a high percentage, were like bank staff. They were temporary, so they didn't actually work. They weren't actually contracted to work for Sefton. So that's not good, is it?
No.
If you had a school where like more than half the teachers were supply, what would you expect? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Interestingly, some of the families have said the agency staff were really good. The agency social workers, and then the agency social worker said, "I'm not staying to work in Sefton."
See, it's got a bad reputation, and then of course a bad experience. Then people, you can't recruit, can you? So it's like a vicious circle.
It is difficult. So
here in Southport, it's this like a little refrain that goes through: all the money goes to Bootle. But I say to people, have you ever been to Bootle? Walked around the streets? They're not paved with gold. So and then there's the bit in the middle, isn't there? There's Maghull, Lydiate, the villages, Sefton and all that bit, and Formby, we don't seem to mention that. As the regeneration of Southport, well, I think some of the small businesses aren't very happy with the way the streets have been closed. There's a couple of pubs and the small shops who've people haven't hardly been able to get there. Well, if you're not a regular in Southport, you sort of look at all the roadworks going on and all the fences up and say, I'm not going down there. So that was a problem for a while. I think it's getting there, but it seems to be taking such a long time to, have you seen what the pedestrianising areas and digging up the streets? I don't know what they're doing in East Bank Street. It seems to be like that for ages. And big queues of traffic trying to get through because it's narrowed. Southport and Lord Street's a difficult one because it's not really for 2025, is it? It's more for 1980, maybe, post that, a lot of those shops on Law Street are really big shops, so people can't afford to rent them, and the people who own them don't care, does it? They're actually owned by hedge funds or pension things or something, and they're just something on their books worth so many thousand million or whatever it is, and it's a property with a value, and they're not bothered. You often see stuff where they say the council, why don't they do something about Lord Street? This time I think it's not the council's fault really, that it's just the way it is. But there does seem to be some good stuff going on. It seems to be taking a long time to do the Marine Lake development. They knocked down the Floral Hall and the event centre, and they've done the basics, but I don't think there's much happening at the moment. I don't know why.
Patrick Haley was quite vocal about a lot of the investment that's going to be coming into Southport, because it is very much a swing constituency.
It is.
So there's money coming in for the pier, for redevelopments, for various bits and bobs. And interesting what you said there about the Bootle thing and the Southport thing. We actually spoke to someone else today, and that seems to be quite an issue in the borough, where the north and the south can be quite suspicious of each other and think, oh, everything's going there, and vice versa. And I always remember John Pugh answering a question about this, who was the former Lib Dem MP and now a councillor. He's the leader of the Lib Dem Council, I believe. And John Pugh said, when someone said, why is all the money going to Bootle? This was in Southport. And he said, well, actually, Bootle's a very deprived area. And he said that, we do need to make sure that we're looking after everyone in the borough. Now, the Shelton Tower is a huge music venue, which has got quite a few big artists like Billy Ocean, Ocean Colour Scene, Status Quo, Tom Jones was there last year. It's all part of the Strand redevelopment along entertainment lines. And it was a tough one in times of austerity, and when you feel like the economy's not going places, that people tend to think, oh, they're getting more than we are. And really, the whole borough needs to be supporting each other, don't they? I think that's what
I know.
We need to be
doing.
It's a
strange borough, really, isn't it? The shape of it, like going right along the coast and that bit of Maghull. I used to, until moved here 2015. Before that, I lived nearly all my life in Maghull, not in Southport. And I was kind of, when we moved here, husband and I, like a bit, I haven't moved that far, but I feel like I'm in a totally different town altogether, It's very, they used to be in Lancashire, they say, though they never, ever were in Lancashire. In Lancashire as a county, but the authority was just one of those individual ones, Southport.
What do you think the biggest change that needs to happen in Sefton?
The biggest change? Oh, well, it could do with more investment, couldn't it, from the central government? But that could go for anybody, but I do think that when we had a Tory government, it was definitely uneven. I think they gave more money to more wealthy Tory voting constituencies and boroughs than they did. I don't really see much more money coming through, though. There's, since last year, what happened, I think that's why there's they promised money for the pier and so on, but definitely needs more money. I just mentioned one thing that I think isn't good, and it would be better if it stopped. Selling off land. So at the moment, there's an emergency meeting, God knows why it's an emergency, of the planning committee, but just a few of them on it, to sell off common land it's Birkdale, but it's part of Duke's Ward. It's by Hillside Golf Club, and Hillside Golf Club want to buy it for some reason. And they want to sell that off. So it's where people go for a walk, to walk their dogs, and so on. So there's that.
Yeah, the ownership of land is a huge problem across the UK, and it's very, it's not reported on into private hands. And often you've got local authorities and governments saying, try and balance the books, selling lands off. It just decreases land for everyone else. The worst thing I just want to mention is housing. There's a lot of companies and housing companies buying land and then deliberately not building on it to inflate the price. And that's the biggest issue. People talk about building new houses. You've got a lot of companies and home building companies deliberately suppressing home building to keep it. And it's barely reported on in the media. It's a huge issue.
I was going to say, you've also got councillors bidding and being given the job of building children's homes.
Oh yes. Mm.
And when that came up at the full council meeting, they said there's no conflict of interest.
I know. Yeah, well, they just make up rules for themselves. That's why they just go. Oh, yeah.
I was going to say, this is hopefully a difficult question, but an enjoyable question for you. What are you most proud of in Sefton, and why? That you, your group, or your legacy as a councillor?
Well, I was proud of helping the youth club, which I think is still ongoing. You know, they're still getting help, and just not far from where we live, there's a hospital, and then behind that there's some social housing, and there were some flats there that had the most awful heating system. Really, a lot of people were disabled and elderly, really hard to understand and work. Had to get down on your knees to change them. Yeah, they just needed a lot of upgrading. And one of the people who lived there got in touch with me, and she was quite forthright, active person herself. And the two of us did get them in and got the heating changed, and things improved. You know, where there was like other problems as well, they improved as well. So I was proud of that.
I was going to say, Friends of Palestine.
Friends of Palestine.
Yeah. I think it's so positive in Southport. I think they said on Saturday there may be thousands and thousands marching in London, but our group in Southport is making a difference and raising awareness. Yes. And if you're watching anyone, I'll just show, this is my dog, sorry. she's been fast asleep. And now has woken up.
She knows it's approaching the end.
I think that's empowering, and I think more and more people are supporting that because they feel powerless today. They watch pain and evil, and there's no way to express. And your group is giving them a platform. So well done.
Protest, we did go and protest at the council meeting as well when they messed around with the Sean and Tash Oliver, who was left now, but she was an independent councillor, put forward a motion about Palestine. Yeah. And one of the parts said they should write to the leader of the opposition. It was April before the election in July. And they took that bit out and a few other things out as well. That made it just wet, you know, and they voted on that. And there were a lot of people, including me in the gallery in Southport, shouting down. Do you know Anne San?
No.
From Liverpool.
Possibly.
She stood in Wavertree as an independent in the last election. Right. She was there. She was very loud. But where we can, we protest, because my last bit, Patrick Hurley has something called an ideas forum now in different pockets around. And I think he's looked at what we've been doing with our assemblies and thought he'd try that. Of course, you can't just walk in, you have to go through Eventbrite, data gathering, So we stood outside. One of them was at in this ward at the Life Centre with our flags and so on, you know, the other day. So we need to do more of that, I think. We write to him. Lots of people write to him regularly about all sorts of things, but especially about Palestine. And we get just the standard letter from central government. This is what you say.
Finally, what do you think is the main criticism you face? Not necessarily Southport Friends of Palestine, but based on your previous experience as a councillor.
When I used to knock on doors, all the money goes to Bootle. You're a communist. Communism never works, so why are you bothering? Look at this. Look at Venezuela. You used to get that. I haven't knocked on doors for a while, but I will be doing soon, I'm sure. So, because we've got some standing in the locals next year, and and when it was Jeremy Corbyn, well, he mainly got that he was not so much he was anti-Semitic, but that he was a supporter of the IRA. That's what we used to get. So it's fighting against those false beliefs, I think.
Interesting stuff. Janis, thank you so much for your time. David, anything you want to say?
No, thank you so much. It's been really good.
Once we've got this off the chest.
Yeah, that we get to hear more, because it's all just sound bites.
Yeah.
We 2 minutes on your well, no, it's not 2 minutes, 30 seconds on your phone, and this is the whole argument's done, right? But it's been really, really good listening and hearing your background and your journey, and and you've been part of building a better Sefton.
Right. Okay.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much.
So, Janis, keep up the good work raising awareness over Palestine. And I don't think you'd be someone who wouldn't say that you want Palestine and Israel to be able to coexist. And I think that is just something that it seems to be the only real option. And yet it just seems to be a million miles away. And while that's going on, you've literally got genocide going on. So thank you for raising that issue, which filters in with the riots, and also for talking about your experience as a councillor. Fascinating stuff. And you've mentioned a lot of issues we've heard before, which keep coming up, but you've also raised some interesting new ones, which we'll look to explore as well. But thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right.
Cheers.
Bye.